Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Curse of Oak Island find enemies in Canadian government. The guys on the Curse of Oak Island are facing another obstacle. The Canadian government stepped in to try to stop them from excavating on the island. However, the goal was to find underground passages to what they believe is the treasure. Unfortunately, red tape is getting in the way. Here is what is slowing down the search for treasure on Oak Island. Canadian government puts stop to Curse of Oak Island excavation. The Curse of Oak Island saw the team find a possible secret chamber underground around the garden shaft. Dell called Dumas Contracting Ult and hired them to come in and work as excavators to dig them down and into these possible chambers. They believe they found passageways to a possible buried treasure on the island. This led the team to have to wait because it would take 50 days to go down about 75 feet. They believed that they might have just found a series of tunnels and chambers that will lead to the mythical hidden treasure. They also believe that one of the artifacts they found had Viking origin, which dates back even more years than they expected. Now, there is a new problem. The Canadian government said that hiring excavators means that the Langany brothers need a mining permit. While they are not technically mining, it is still red tape that has once again made the government an enemy to the team finding treasure. However, not all fans seemed surprised. One fan took to Reddit to write, "The Canadian government wants to prevent a group of well-documented gold diggers from blindly rebuilding a wooden shaft that goes down an unknown depth on an island where 6 treasure hunters have already died doing the exact same thing, and they're the villains in this situation. The Canadian government has interfered before. This isn't the first time the Canadian government has interfered in the Langany brothers' treasure hunting on the Curse of Oak Island. In 2021, the Canadian government shut down a large part of the dig operations on the island. This was when the Langany brothers team found several centuries-old Indigenous artifacts. It happened during Season 9 when the team discovered First Nation Mi'kmaq pottery shards on the island. This caused Marty Langany to say on an episode at the time they would lay low on archaeological methods, waiting for the dust to settle. What resulted from that was just a tightening of regulations for the show. At the time, the Langany stopped regular archaeological methods for alternative digging techniques. They expanded on that this season by using new technology to map out areas under the island, which allows them to find clues and possible entry points without unnecessary digging. However, the excavation brought about a new conflict with the Canadian government. The Curse of Oak Island, a small, unassuming patch of land off the coast of Nova Scotia, had long been the focal point of countless treasure hunts and conspiracy theories. For over 2 centuries, enthusiasts, scholars, and adventurers had delved into its secrets, driven by tales of buried treasure, be it pyrite gold, Templar artifacts, or even Shakespearean manuscripts. The allure of the island's mysterious money pit and its supposed hidden riches was irresistible. Yet, the latest twist in the Oak Island saga involved an unexpected adversary, the Canadian government. Rick and Marty Langany, modern-day treasure hunters and stars of the popular television series, The Curse of Oak Island, had dedicated years and substantial resources to unlocking the island's secrets. Their quest was fraught with challenges, collapsing tunnels, dangerous sinkholes, and the ever-looming mystery of the booby traps supposedly guarding the treasure. Despite the odds, their persistence had led to a series of tantalizing discoveries, ancient coins, mysterious artifacts, and a plethora of historical clues. However, nothing could have prepared them for the bureaucratic maze that awaited them in the halls of power. It began innocuously enough. A letter from the Department of Canadian Heritage landed on the Langany's desk, bearing official stamps and signatures. Rick opened it with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The letter, couched in diplomatic language, expressed concern about the excavation activities on Oak Island. It cited environmental regulations, heritage preservation laws, and the need for more rigorous permits and oversight. The underlying message was clear. The government was tightening its grip on the island. The Laginas were no strangers to legal formalities. They had navigated various permits and regulations for years. However, this new directive felt different. It was more comprehensive, more intrusive. There were demands for detailed reports, environmental impact assessments, and the presence of government-appointed archaeologists on site. The timeline for compliance was impossibly short, effectively halting their work. At first, Rick and Marty attempted to comply. They engaged experts to conduct the necessary assessments and submitted reams of paperwork. But every submission was met with further requests for information, more layers of bureaucracy. It became apparent that they were being stonewalled. Their excavation site was transformed from a bustling hive of activity into a stagnant quagmire of red tape. Frustration mounting, the Laginas decided to take a more direct approach. They traveled to Ottawa, seeking a face-to-face meeting with the officials responsible for their plight. They hoped to cut through the bureaucracy with personal diplomacy. What they found was a wall of indifference and veiled hostility. Meetings were postponed, rescheduled, or canceled at the last minute. When they could finally meet with officials, the responses were evasive, the answers rehearsed and unhelpful. It was during one of these frustrating meetings that Rick caught wind of a whisper and a fan remark that hinted at a deeper conspiracy. Over a lunch break in a nearby cafe, he overheard a conversation between two aides discussing the directive from above and the potential ramifications if the truth about Oak Island came to light. It was enough to stoke Rick's suspicions. The Laginas' investigative instincts kicked in. They delved into the bureaucratic labyrinth, uncovering a web of memos and internal documents that painted a disturbing picture. The Canadian government, it seemed, had a vested interest in keeping Oak Island's secrets buried. The reasons were varied and complex. Fears of international claims on the treasure, concerns over national heritage, and even whispers of geopolitical ramifications if certain historical artifacts were found. Their discovery took on a darker hue when they stumbled upon references to covert government operations dating back to the mid-20th century. There were records of military involvement, classified digs, and even mentions of clandestine agreements with foreign entities. It became clear that Oak Island was more than just a treasure hunt. It was a geopolitical chess piece. Determined to expose the truth, Rick and Marty rallied their allies. They'd reached out to historians, journalists, and sympathetic politicians. They'd leveraged their media platform, turning the spotlight on the government's obstruction. The public, captivated by the ongoing saga, began to demand answers. Under mounting pressure, the Canadian government's stance began to waver. A parliamentary inquiry was convened, and officials were called to testify. The hearings revealed a tangled web of secrecy and subterfuge. High-ranking officials had indeed issued directives to impede the Laginas' work, motivated by a mix of national security concerns and bureaucratic inertia.